Okay mga kaibigan, nandito na naman po tayo sa isang reaction video. Meron na naman po tayong panonoorin. Ito'y galing sa ating Pinas News Insider. Naku, marami na naman siguro magagalit na naman ito mga kapatid. Ito kasi ang title, Big Good News eh. Lahat na shock. PRRD nakalabas na sa ICC. Sabi ng ganon. 100% uuwi na sa Pinas. KAUFMAN, Marcoleta. Ayan. So parang sinasabi ni KAUFMAN at ni Marcoleta. Kasi merong dash. Uy. Ano ba? Pauwi na? Nandiyan pa? Aalamin ho natin yan kung 100% na makakauwi o hindi pa makakauwi o nakauwi na. Ayan na. Simulan na po natin ito mga kapatid.
Kung gusto nyo naman ng mura na at mabilis na internet, nandito na ang Fiber
Fiber
ni
ni
Juan.
Juan.
Maaasahan. Kaya tawag na. Baka meron na sa inyong lugar ang Fiber ni Juan.
Okay, i-play na po natin ito.
Ito ang balita ngayon. Trending at pinag-uusapan ngayon sa mundo ng social media. Ang di umano'y balita.
Yes.
Tunay nga na ang lahat ay may hangganan at hindi mananaigang kasamaan laban sa kabutihan. Dating Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte wala na umano at nakalabas na di umano sa ICC Detention Facility.
Hindi kaya baka hindi lang nila sinasabi, no? Para smooth lahat ng galawan.
Ito ang trending at palaisipang balita ngayon sa mundo ng social media matapos nagbigay kamakailan lamang ng palaisipang pahayag ang Vice President na si Sara Duterte mula sa The Hague, Netherlands kaugnay sa mga bagong update sa dating Pangulong Duterte mula sa ICC Detention Facility. Kaya tila nabuhayan ng maraming taga-suporta ng dating Pangulo ng Pilipinas matapos ang ilang buwang paghihintay ay lumabas ang napakalaking balita at tila nagpagimbal at tila halos natarantana ang lahat ng kumakalaban sa dating Pangulo at ang gobyernong ngagba matapos lumabas ang balita na di umano'y nakalabas na sa ICC Detention Facility ang dating Pangulo na si Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Gaano kaya katotoo ang malaking balita na ito mga kababayan na nag-viral at nag-trending ngayon sa lahat ng social media platforms? Sabay-sabay nating alamin. Pero bago ang lahat, kung bago ka pa lamang sa aming channel, please huwag kalimutang mag-like,
Nasa description
subscribe
niya,
at click ang notification bell para mas maging updated ka pa lalo sa lahat pa ng bagong video na i-upload namin. At ito na nga mga kababayan, sa paglipas ng maraming araw mula nang dalhin ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa ICC Detention Facility sa The Hague, Netherlands, kung saan marami sa ating mga kababayan, lalong-lalo na ang taga-suporta ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang naghihintay na makalabas at makauwi ito sa Pilipinas sa isang pahayag kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Mukhang tila nakalabas na di umano ang dating Pangulo na si Rodrigo Roa Duterte matapos ang isang malaking palaisipang pahayag o sagot ng Vice President na si Sara Duterte kamakailan lamang sa isang interview mula sa The Hague, Netherlands, kung saan sinabi niya na yung legal counsel na si Attorney KAUFMAN na lamang daw ang sasagot patungkol sa usaping ito. At ito pa ang malaking magandang balita.
Alam nyo mga kapatid, marami na rin po nagagalit kay KAUFMAN, no? Ang dahilan nila kasi daw hindi na pinapapasok si ganito, si ganyan. Iniisip ko bias ba talaga yung KAUFMAN na yun? Kasi may nakita ko rin sa comment section, may nagsasabi doon na ang tagal-tagal umusad ng kaso. Sa akin, open-minded naman ako. Open-minded, no? Iniisip ko, matagal umusad ng kaso, sabi ng mga nagko-comment, pero di ba hindi naman siya yung judge para maghatol kung ano na dapat yung kalalabasan? Hindi kaya yung ICC ang mabagal? Sabihin na natin, bias din tong si KAUFMAN. Halimbawa lang, tama tayo. Di ba magfa-file lang sila ng mga dapat ebidensya, bla bla bla. Pero nasa judge pa rin o nandoon pa rin sa ICC yung pinaka-hatol sa mga kung anong pwedeng magiging ganap. Yun lang ho ang aking pagkakaintindi. So ang pinakamabagal dito na sa tingin ko sinasadya talaga nila, yung ICC na yan. Tapos kung sasabihin nyo pang bias si KAUFMAN, baka kasama na rin yun. Kaya lalong tumatagal, no? Yun lang ho ang akin. Sana lang po, tignan muna natin kasi si VP Sara, kung talagang may problema doon kay KAUFMAN, tatanggalin niya na si KAUFMAN Tapos na lahat, wala nang problema. Kaso nananatili pa rin. Yung mga pamilya Duterte kumbaga nananatili pa rin si Kaufman parang idepensa itong ating Pangulong Duterte. Baka may tinatago pa silang alas. Yun lang ang sa akin.
Na dapat malaman ng taong bayan nang matanong si Attorney Kaufman, ang legal counsel ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, patungkol sa di umano'y nalalapit na pagbabalik ng dating Pangulo sa Pilipinas, ay ito ang kanyang malaking magandang pahayag na 100% daw na makakabalik ang dating Pangulo sa Pilipinas. Kaya malaking palaisipan tuloy ngayon sa mga taga-suporta ng Pangulo na ang ibig bang sabihin nito, at malaking katanungan ngayon mga kababayan, na si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ay nakalabas na ba ng detention facility at di umano'y naka-house arrest ngayon sa hindi malamang bansa.
Kumbaga, oo, napanood ko nga din yun na sinabi niya 100%. Baka nitong update ngayon, baka nakaalis na at nasa ibang lugar na. Parang ganun siguro, ano?
Ang balita, hindi ko na nakita.
Ano yan?
Na ang dating Pangulong Duterte daw ay nakalabas na ng ICC.
Nakalabas?
May kumalat na balita.
Attorney, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you to bring former President Duterte back home? What factors support that level of confidence?
Between 1 to 10?
Yes.
I would say 100.
1 to 10 lang pero sinabi niya 100. So, ibig sabihin sigurado si Kaufman. Ewan ko lang kung ba't nagagalit yung mga ibang DDS supporters. Sabi nga nila, hindi na raw pinapapasok si ganito, si ganyan, hindi na pinapapasok. Hindi rin natin alam yung pinakadahilan talaga, no? Pero nagagalit po ang mga kapwa nating supporters dyan. Kasi nga, ba't di mo pinapapasok, asawa yan, o kamag-anak yan. Parang ganon, ba't di mo pinapapasok? Siguro naman, sa kampo ng mga Duterte, teka lang, wag muna kasi meron kaming special na gagawin. Siguro ganun, di ba? Yun lang, galit kayo ngayon. Tignan na lang natin kung anong pwedeng gawin. Ang hirap kasi wag tayong masyadong maniniwala agad sa mga sinasabi ng mga vlogger, kahit pakapanig pa natin. Tama nga naman, dapat ho tayong maniwala. Pero pag nanggagaling lang ito sa mga sabi-sabi at wala namang ipinapakitang ebidensya, or kung magpapakita ng ebidensya, baka papel-papel lang na hindi natin sigurado, mahirap po. Kahit naman ako nanonood din sa kanila Pero hintay lang muna tayo ng pagkakataon. Ako rin, medyo nagagalit ako kay Kaufman. Bakit bawal pumasok si ganito? Bakit bawal pumasok si ganyan? Yun lang din na sa akin. Pero iniisip ko, baka meron matinding pwedeng mangyari, no, na mga teknikan kung bakit ayaw niyang papasukin. Siguro may mga ganon. Kaso nga lang, iniisip ng mga kababayan natin, etong Kaufman na to, ba't hindi pinapapasok yung mga kamag-anak? Kamag-anak yun. Di ba ganun? Nasasaktan din yung mga kababayan natin. Kaya ako, hintay lang ako. Titignan ko lang kung ano ba talaga ang kinalabasan o kalalabasan, o baka nga nasa ibang lugar na, hindi lang sinasabi. Mahirap kasi baka pag dumalaw dun, wala na pala dun. Ewan ko lang, hindi pa natin sigurado, no?
Balita, hindi ko na nakita.
Ano yan?
Na ang dating Pangulong Duterte daw ay nakalabas na ng ICC.
Nakalabas?
Wow.
May kumalat na balita.
Nakalabas.
Nakalaya o baka naman nagpa-araw lang. Hindi kaya?
Kaya pala nakalabas, baka tambay-tambay muna kasi nga, masyado ng doon. Siyempre, pag matanda ka o baby ka, minsan kailangan mo ng araw, di ba? O baka ganun lang.
Ewan ko, kasi maging ang Vice President Sara Duterte ay hindi alam kung totoo ito no? Ang sabi niya dito,
kahit ang Vice President, hindi alam. Ano kayang ginagawa nila sa loob, ano?
I know the answer but I will not comment.
Hindi niya.
As I'm not sure if it is allowed on my level.
Naku, sa tingin nyo mga kadunatics, no? Figuratively speaking na, well, I know the answer na nakalaya na, but I will not tell you. That's just my hypothesis, mga kadunatics.
Ganon?
The best is to ask his lawyer, Attorney Nicholas Kaufman.
Okay. Eto na nga, so parang ang nakikita ko na nag-iingat po si VP Sara Duterte, no? Hindi pwedeng kahit alam mo na yung sagot o kahit may hinala ka o sure ka na, hindi ka pwedeng sumagot. Kasi baka magkaroon ng mitya ng baka may gagawin na naman itong mga taga-kabila, yung mga kontrabida. Diba, no? Baka may gagawin silang hindi maganda, baka ipaganito na naman nila, iganyan na naman nila, may kaso na naman na Magugulat kayo. Ito, sample lang ha. Sample lang. Magugulat kayo. Baka kinonekta na sa sabong yung yung Duterte natin. Yung sa Taal Lake, di ba? At marami pang iba. Baka nga itong flood control ngayon. And then, tingnan natin, no? Kasi binibiltang na sa Dolomite Beach, di ba? Naalala nyo? Anak ng yung kamay nilaan, naalala nyo? Oh. Baka kasi maraming i-connect hanggang sa hindi na makaalis ang ating Pangulong Duterte doon. Kaya hintay lang tayo, mga kababayan. Okay, tingnan pa natin ha. Nasa loob pa ba o nasa labas na? Tingnan natin.
May balitang nakalabas daw ng ICC detention facility ang Pangulong Duterte.
Nakalabas o ano, tapos babalik din o paano ibig sabihin?
Wala nga
Baka kasi naman paglabas na inilabas na yung ulo gano'n tapos bumalik din agad.
Ako ay nahihiwagaan sa sagot nito. Kasi sabi niya, I know the answer.
Okay.
Ibig sabihin, alam niya kung nakalabas o hindi. But I will not comment as I'm not sure if it is allowed on my level.
Kung allowed ba sang sabihin kung ano talaga yung estado?
Oo,
ganun
kasi,
ba ibig sabihin?
Tignan mo kung reading.
Nagigets ko na nga, no? Siguro baka hindi pinapasok si ganito, si ganyan. Kasi baka nga wala na talaga doon. Kayo mga kapatid, updated pa ba kayo? Pwede ba pa-comment naman dyan? Papindot na rin ng like. Ano na ba ang nangyari? Doon sa mga nagsasabi ng fake news, pagpasensyahan nyo na ha. Kasi patanong naman. Patanong ang lahat, so hindi pa sinisigurado kung talagang nakalabas. Kasi alam nyo naman, mga kababayan natin, sabik na talagang hanggat maaari, makalaya na to ang ating Pangulong Duterte. Kasi sobra na ho yung pang-uurat nila. 'Di ba? Dapat managot din sila. Halimbawa, ito, inimpeach si BP Sara tapos hindi na pwedeng impeach. Dapat gumawa din ng paraan si BP Sara. Inabalan nyo ako. Ako naman ngayon ang maghahain sa inyo ng pamimintang. Dapat po, mahal naming Vice President, ganun naman. Subukan nyo naman kayo ang maghain. 'Di ba, no?
Between the lines.
Yes.
Kung ang dating Pangulo, Duterte, ay nandun sa loob ng ICC, hindi niya sasabihin, para sasabihin yun na... nandun yan.
Nasa nakakulong.
Diba? Kasi wala namang... Kasi kung siya lumabas, parang ito ang mas akmang sagot.
Oo nga.
Kasi kakaiba yung nangyari. Bakit natin nasabi yun? Kasi meron siyang, I am not sure if it is allowed on my level.
Ayun.
Bakit may confidential, na-agree.
Well, mga kadonatics, it makes sense na baka lang na nakalabas na talaga si Tatay Digong. Bakit? May statement kasi si Inday Sara Duterte last few days ago na pangangampanya daw ni Tatay Digong si Inday Sara Duterte come 2028 presidential election. Naku naman, baka nga talaga mga kadonatics, media blockage lang. You know, para yung mga kritiko or something like that, mga kadonatics, opposition, yung mga drug lords na ayaw makalabas si Tatay Digong, baka, you know, will do something, mga kadonatics. So, ito, na-expose na yung balita. Hindi naman sasagot si Inday Sara, mga kadonatics, ng ganito if walang nangyari doon sa ICC detention facility. To tell you honestly, mga kadonatics, pag ikaw ang tanungin ng ganyan, kung alam mo na andun pa si Tatay Digong, of course, ang dali sabihin na, andun pa si Tatay Digong. Pero pag may nangyari, mga kadonatics, na plot twist, baka ganito yung sagot mo, mga kadonatics. What do you think? Eto, mga kadonatics, panoorin natin si Atty. Kaufman. Dito mo malalaman towards the end yung hint ng sagot niya, mga kadonatics, na pwede nga nakalabas din si Tatay Digong. But before that, may mga importanteng mensahe siya, mga kadonatics, to the President and for us. This is actually good news. Okay, panoorin natin, mga kadonatics.
Dire-diretso na tayo, mga kapatid.
Attorney Kaufman, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you very much.
How is our former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte?
Well, as I've said, he's always in good spirits, but he's 80 years old and he's tired.
Attorney, in your motion to defer adjudication on the urgent request for interim release, you cited several delays and roadblocks. Could you elaborate on the nature of these obstacles? Or are they primarily procedural, diplomatic, or a combination of both?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not entitled to elaborate further. The matter is subject to confidentiality, as you will have seen from the filings on the ICC website. A number parts of that filing are redacted, and they're redacted for a reason, to protect certain interests.
Okay. Attorney, what are the specific delays, whether it is procedural, evidentiary, or logistical, that you believe justify a reassessment of the current schedule for the confirmation of charges?
Well, I want to make it clear, at the present moment in time, the defence hasn't asked to postpone the confirmation of charges hearing. The nature of the delays and the obstacles are confidential, but they are the information that we haven't received, because that's basically the substance of our application, is, in our opinion, crucial for determining an issue which could potentially bar the holding of the confirmation of charges hearing.
Because, attorney, there is a concern that the pre-trial chamber may interpret this delay as a tactic, stalling measure rather than a legitimate legal need. How do you respond to that?
Well, the pre-trial chamber know exactly what we've argued, and the pre-trial chamber will understand that we're not deliberately stalling. I don't deliberately stall anything. I do what I believe is the best thing to do for the interests of my client.
Okay. How about the Rule 121 of the ICC Rules of Procedures and Evidence, indicating it clearly that ensuring the efficiency of proceedings, in your view, has the Office of the Prosecutor failed to uphold any part of that obligation in this case?
Well, I'm the last person who would normally hand out awards to the prosecution, but to their credit, they have actually met their disclosure requirements as expected in this case. It's not been the case in other situations before the court, but ironically in this case, they have met their disclosure obligations. What I can say that we've been disclosed a huge amount of information, and that will take time to assimilate and to learn.
Attorney, on another note, 3 Philippine senators have called on the Senate to urge the government to formally petition the International Criminal Court for the interim release of the former president, proposing a house arrest arrangement in The Hague. Legally speaking, how likely is the ICC to consider such an appeal under any circumstances, if any? Could this influence the court's discretion in granting interim release under the Rome Statute?
I think such an initiative on behalf of the senators is to be welcomed, because it basically expresses the will of the people. However, the judges rule on evidence and rule on risk factors. So whatever these senators say, and I welcome it, I really do welcome it, and I thank them for it. Regardless, the judges have a set of rules which they use to decide whether or not an individual should be released or not.
Attorney Kaufman, is your legal team actively considering the options reportedly raised by Attorney Harry Roque to file a separate civil action under Dutch domestic law challenging the legality of Mr. Duterte's or President Duterte's arrest and detention?
Perhaps you could enlighten me. Where is Harry Roque proposing to file this?
Under Dutch law? Under Dutch legal.
And what's the nature of this? Has he mentioned it in the media?
No, not yet. Because it was proposed that a separate legal remedy filed under Dutch laws could be a possible option. Are you actively proposing the same?
Well, this is not the first time I've heard such a crazy scheme. I would put it that way, because at the end of the day, the Netherlands have to be involved in any request to release an individual from the court, because in order to go to a target country or a country where the person has selected to be the place for him to be under house arrest, should obviously the pre-trial chamber agree, he would have to pass through the Netherlands territory. So to initiate a case in the Netherlands against the Netherlands would be a big mistake.
Aside from the recent efforts filed before the ICC, such as the petitions for disqualification of certain judges and the request for interim release, what other legal avenues or procedural steps are you currently exploring to strengthen the case and secure the eventual return of the former president?
Well, there is a petition before the court for interim release. As you might know from a decision given by the judges yesterday, the decision on interim release will be postponed temporarily in order to allow us to present further crucial information to the pre-trial chamber.
On that note, Attorney, congratulations on the grant of your defense request to defer adjudication of the urgent motion for interim release. Ideally, is this motion expected to be adjudicated prior to the set confirmation of charges?
I hope so, but it's all tied up with the issue of information that we haven't received, delays, which are not attributable to the defense.
What is the legal significance or advantage of granting the deferment of the adjudication of the urgent motion for interim release?
And I said we want to have all the information necessary to promote a claim for interim release. We still require crucial information which is available and can be made available, but because of various obstacles and delays, we haven't received it. I'm not entitled to elaborate any further on the matter.
Thank you, Attorney. If the interim release is granted, will former President Duterte be placed under arrest only during the pre-trial phase, or will it continue throughout the entire trial if the charges are confirmed?
One would hope that it will continue throughout the whole trial if charges are confirmed, obviously.
Attorney, according to the report, the ICC has disclosed 1,253 items of evidence related to alleged crimes against humanity involving the former president. Have you had the opportunity to review these materials in full? If so, what is your legal assessment or overall impression of the strength and credibility of the body of evidence?
Well, you talk about 1,000 or so items that have been disclosed.
Correct.
However, each one of those items sometimes contain up to 100 or even 200 pages. So it's an immense amount of information. It's disclosed electronically. And we have means and methods using the court's information technology systems to analyze that evidence, to perform keyword searches, to focus in on aspects of the case that interest us for promoting the former president's defense. I'm not going to comment on the strengths and the weaknesses. I'm not allowed to. However, we are busy learning that evidence. We have a short amount of time to do it. We have a fair idea what we want to argue at confirmation, but once again, that's strategy, which I shan't be disclosing in a media interview.
Yes. Do you believe political motivations, either locally or in the Philippines or within the ICC itself, are influencing the pace or direction of the proceedings?
Well, once again, I don't get into politics. That's not my job to start making pronouncements. I've said my views in the past regarding the political motivation behind former President Duterte's current presence in The Hague. But beyond that, I'm not going to comment.
How do you respond to the Vice President Inday Sara Duterte's claim that President Marcos Jr. is working with the ICC to remove her father from politics and to keep the ICC relevant?
I'm not going to comment on Vice President's comments to the media. However, what I can say is that no investigations can be carried out in the Philippines without the approval of the Philippines government. Otherwise, it would be a breach of sovereignty. It depends which way you look at it. And once again, the former president was brought here because supposedly the President Marcos, said that he was complying with Interpol. He wasn't complying with Interpol, he was complying with an ICC arrest warrant. So that is cooperation with the court to which the Philippines is no longer a member.
Are you saying that the Philippines, through these actions, are saying that we are not a sovereign country anymore?
No, I didn't say that. You can't carry out investigative procedures in another country without the approval of that country, otherwise it would be deemed a breach of sovereignty.
Is this action can also be characterized as not believing on our local judiciary?
Well, there's been all sorts of claims made by the current administration. They claim that there's no evidence left because it was all destroyed, and they claim falsely and without any foundation whatsoever that former President Duterte is possibly responsible for the destruction of that evidence. So that's why they argue that he can only be tried here. They've given a number of claims. All the time they're obfuscating the reason for him being transferred to The Hague. What I can say is that the correct place for him to be tried, given our jurisdictional arguments, is in the Philippines. He asked for a Filipino judge, he asked for a Filipino prosecutor, and he said, if I'm found guilty, I will sit in a Filipino prison.
Attorney Kaufman, can I just
Yes, go ahead.
Are you hopeful that it will be dismissed on lack of jurisdiction when Philippine government kidnap PRRD and have him to ICC and Philippine government cooperating on witnesses which vindicate the Philippine government recognizing the jurisdiction of the ICC?
Well, that's a bit of a long question, but once again, our jurisdictional arguments are before the court. And the court will give its decision in due course, whether it gives it before or after the confirmation hearing or during the confirmation hearing, I don't know. We're coming up to the judicial recess, and traditionally pre-trial chambers have delivered consequential judgments on the last days of the judicial year. So we can only wait and hope.
On the other hand, why postpone confirmation of charges when this further prolong pre-trial detention of PRRD? What's your timeline to have PRRD released?
Well, once again, I haven't asked to postpone yet the confirmation of charges hearing. I'm waiting to receive crucial information, and I've asked the court to decide upon that crucial information before we get to the confirmation of charges hearing.
One last question for me, I'm sorry. Why did you not wait for the documents that you needed before filing the interim release, Attorney KAUFMAN?
You're assuming that I didn't ask for them before I filed for interim release. Once again, I've told you that there are certain obstacles that have been placed in our way. I'm not entitled to disclose the nature of those obstacles. I hope that they will be lifted and that we'll get the information that we require as soon as possible.
Attorney Kaufman, I understand that all available legal remedies before the International Criminal Court have been actively pursued in relation to the case involving our former president. In your assessment, attorney, have these efforts reached a point of diminishing returns? And to what extent do you believe the process have become politicized, if at all?
Listen, it won't serve my interests or Mr. Duterte's interests if I say that the court's a political court. I'm not going to say that, as much as people would want me to say that. It's just self-destructive. We do our best. We're lawyers. We're doing a legal job. We've explored all possible avenues and we've pursued them with maximum vigor.
Attorney, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Philippines still has a viable path to bring former President Duterte back home? What factors support that level of confidence?
Between 1 to 10?
Yes.
I would say 100 if President Marcos would invite me to Manila. I'd sit down with him and I'd explain to him that nothing will happen if he allows my clan to go back to Davao. He's an old man. Let him live out his life in peace, quietly, and don't interfere with him.
We understand, attorney, that Senator Marcos also came here twice already because she wanted to have a meeting with the former president and it was not approved by the ICC. What is the weight, should it be allowed by the ICC, this particular meeting? Will it have an impact?
Once again, there are certain judicial decisions which have been taken which I'm not allowed to comment on.
Thank you, attorney. Last question. Do you have a message for the Filipino people who are closely following the ongoing proceedings before the International Criminal Court involving the former president, Rodrigo Roa Duterte?
Yeah, here I'm going to use the Vice President's words. Take heart, be strong, and pray for his release.
Thank you, attorney.
At yun na nga mga kababayan, ano na ang masasabi mo? Kung mayroon kayong hinaingat komento patungkol sa balitang ito, please comment down below. Pag-uusapan natin yan sa comment section. At kung nagustuhan nyo ang video, ay huwag kalimutang mag-like at i-share na din para mas marami pang makaalam at umabot ito sa marami sa ating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat po!
Oh my God, we're back again.